You are watching Park TV. Welcome to Monadnock Tonight with your host, Steve Jackson. Coming to you live from the Park Theater in downtown Jaffrey, New Hampshire. Join Steve as he talks about the Women Pioneers in Cinema series. Now sit back, relax, and here's Steve.
And here I am. Sorry, that was a little delayed. Well, hello, everybody, and greetings, friends. Welcome to the Park Theater and Park TV's Monadnock Tonight. It is Thursday, March 11th, 2021. It's about 5 p.m., maybe 5:01 plus p.m. here on the East Coast. And this is show number 68. And it is a tropical 60 degrees outside our theater on Main Street. So spring is here. As we all know, don't bet on it. And yes, I'm Steve Jackson. I'm the CEO of the Park Theater and your host. So glad that you're able to join us this afternoon, early evening. It's feeling like afternoon because the light is staying later with us, and we'll be changing over, I think, this weekend with our clocks. And we are broadcasting from the beautiful new Park Theater in downtown Jaffrey. This actually is the new box office for us, where I am stationed right now. Today, we are going to be talking about movies. And when don't we like talking about movies? But more specifically and more importantly, we're going to be talking about women in cinema. The pioneers and women who were the pioneers behind the camera. But first, let's get some park news in here. Number one on the news events going on happens next Wednesday. And I think we all know next Wednesday, March 17th, is that famous day known as St. Patrick's Day. And for us, we are going to be presenting a virtual St. Patrick's Day parade of sorts. From 12 noon to, let's put that on there, 12 noon to 2 p.m. And we will be live. We're going to have a lot of guests here. And here are some of these guests that are going to be, and there are more coming every day, and some other activities. But there are some of the guests that we're having. In the top left, that's our Grand Marshal, Jimmy Quinn, will be here. Our former host and will be a co-host is Owen Houghton. And right next to him is the organizer of the whole parade originally, Kevin Hampsey. Sarah Bowen will be here with some music, some Celtic music. Below her, you'll see the N.H. Scott Pipes and Drums Corps, and their executive director, Terry, will be with us to talk about that with some new footage from the marching band, the the pipes and drums of the N.H. Scott. And as we're coming around in a circle here, we've got the Flying Irish Dancers from Ashby, Massachusetts, and then all the way around at about 8 o'clock, I guess, on this clock of photos, is Nancy Bodette. And Nancy is from the Kelly Girls. And Nancy will be representing the Kelly Girls for us. And there are other surprises that are going to be happening. So we hope that you will be with us. And one kind of extra fun item that day, but it's already happening, is we had a successful 50-50 raffle on New Year's, and we are going to have another raffle, 50-50 raffle virtual. And all you have to do, the tickets are $10 each. You buy more than I think you buy 5 and you can get 6, and they're more bonus, more raffle tickets you buy, so more chances you get. They're $10 each, and if you take your smartphone and use that QR code, it will take you right to Square, where you can purchase your raffle tickets. Again, they are $10 each. They support the theater, and we thank you for being part of it. And basically, we're going to be drawing the winner on the broadcast. Kit Sheely is helping us once again with our raffle, and so we hope that you will partake in it. But you can go there right now. I mean, the website is a little, there'll be easier ones. You can always go to Facebook and click it, but it is the-park-theater.square.site. That's why I put up the QR code for those who have smartphones. But you can also, there'll be more email blasts and others, communication going out, so it's not as hard for you to get to that special address that goes right to Square. So we hope that you will be with us. Now, we should tell you that the winner of the last 50/50 raffle on New Year's Eve, that winner walked away with over $600. So a $10 chance for $600, not bad. So we will see you hopefully next Wednesday at noon live. And we're going to have a fun day. And plus, it's going to be available that if you want to be on screen with us and wish everyone a Erin go Bra or Sláinte, and wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day parade, you can do that too. It'll be real easy for you to do it if you have your laptop or desktop available. You can be part of the show for a few minutes as well. Now, our virtual movie theater. We've got 4 films up there, a couple that started last week, and some other new ones. You've seen, we've played the trailers for all these, but again, Stray is a documentary about a group of dogs in Istanbul. Keep an Eye Out is a French comedy, very funny, from director Quentin Dupieux. Atlantis is from the Ukraine. It's a dystopian fairy tale, very interesting film. At least go and take a look at the trailer. I hope you will actually take a look at it. It's beautiful filmmaking. And then crazy filmmaking at the end. Once again, the Sweden Film Festival is still running. These are low budget. I'm in quarantine. I've got to do something. Movies, recreations of well-known movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Wizard of Oz, and it's a whole bunch of them. Obviously, I think there are 11 of them, and they're all short films. So it's about just over an hour video. It's only $3.99 to rent it. So you can go to theparktheater.org, and it'll take you to all these different films. So, and what else we have going on? Some really good articles in the newspaper today. One in our newspaper is the Monadnock Ledger Transcript, based over in Peterborough. One thing I want everybody to know, this is called The Bride's Play. It's a silent film. It's going to be over at the Wilton Town Theater on, I believe it's Sunday, March 14th at 2 p.m. And it's a film made in 1922, starring Marion Davies. And it's about this ancient Irish custom of interrogating all of the male wedding guests. So it sounds kind of interesting. They just restored the film, and our good friend Jeff Rapsis, as he always does over at the Wilton Town Theater, is the accompanist to this silent film. So you might want to check out The Bride's Play over in Wilton on Sunday. And then there's another article about someone who has done a lot of work on behalf of the Park Theater. And there's an article about this lady right here. Miss Lisa Bosner in today's a profile of Lisa in today's ledger transcript. And I'm very proud of her, and she's my wife. And but she's also a huge supporter of the Park Theater. And as you know, if you watch the show and everything, she's not only the announcer for our program, but she has done, as the latest was last month with Gus Kekkonen, the Valentine's Day readings. So pick up your ledger, read about Lisa. It's a wonderful article by Tim Goodwin. And also go over to the Wilton Town Theater and on Sunday and see that interesting silent film in honor of St. Patrick's Day coming up. The others, I just want to remind before we get into the women pioneers, is that our seats that in the William David Epps Auditorium, they keep going down. People keep giving us gifts to have a gift named in the honor of someone, loved one, a family, an organization, a business, a pet. But here's just a reminder that don't forget, get your seat for your family, yourself, or for someone else. It's that simple. Just go to park2021.com. All the information is there, or you can always call us here at 532-9300, 532-9300. So as I mentioned last week, we began last Friday with a special series in conjunction with our ParkPixFlix free films, was to what I wanted to do in the show, where ParkPixFlix women, it's the Women's History Month, and in honor of that, we had developed a series called The Women Pioneers in Film, and it is curated by Peggy Ueda, who is one of our board members. And again, I thank Peggy for all the hard work she did in pulling this together. So for the whole month, and we started last week with our first woman who's spotlighted, we're putting the spotlight on 4 women who made such a profound difference to and in cinema. Way before, so sadly, that women have been put on a more equal footing with men in cinema. And certainly that still has not happened, but it is getting better. But if we look back and see what these women did in the earliest days, as we go in and look at these 4 women in the silent era, that women were, not many, but some were pushing their way through the glass ceiling and being able to not only make a difference, but make historic differences in terms of behind the camera contributions to cinema. And so these are the 4 women that we are profiling this month. You have Lois Weber, more of from the period of the silent films. You have Lottie Reiniger, an animator who kind of bridged multiple decades. You have Dorothy Arzner, who was 30s and 40s mainly. And then you had Ida Lupino, who began her directorial side in the late 1940s, around 1950. And each very unique in terms of their contributions. But they all had a passion for film. They all knew that to succeed, they had to push harder than certainly any man would have to in the industry. But their talent was so strong and their insights were so right. So last Friday, we debuted. If you go to ParkPixFlix website, you'll see we debuted with our first filmmaker, who was Lois Weber, and she was, as they say sometimes, the triple threat. Even more so when you're a woman, that she was an actor, she was a director, and she was a producer and an innovator eventually. Said by many to be the most, quote, the most important female director the American film industry has ever known. And among the most important and prolific film directors in the era of silent films. Lois was born in the suburbs of Pittsburgh in 1879. Because of her family upbringing, she began on the street corners of Pittsburgh as a corner evangelist, but she was also a virtuoso pianist, and eventually just kind of grew tired of that, and she had been thinking that maybe acting might be her world, and so she moved to New York City and became an actress. And then, not settled with just that, she moved on to really what is a precursor of music videos called phono scenes, which were early video that was combined with music, and they would shoot these little vignettes and with a 78 RPM track to it. Eventually, she had her own production company, partnering with her husband, Wendell Phillips Smalley, who was a fellow actor. And they started doing it from the little films. They started making short films, and Carl Laemmle at Universal Pictures offered them features, so they went there. But here is a 5-minute clip from a film called The Blot, B-L-O-T, from 1921. It's the story of a woman named Amelia, played by actress Claire Windsor. She's a young librarian, has several potential love interests, and one is a Mr. Phil West, played by the great actor Louis Calhern, who is a very wealthy man. She's also a student. He's a student of Amelia's father, and but because he's such a rich individual and she comes from a meager beginnings, she doesn't think there could ever be a romance between the two. And in fact, it's such a meager existence that she's even having problems getting enough food for herself and for her family. But here is I think it runs just over 4 minutes, is a clip from this 1921 film by Lois Weber called The Blot. as I look at that, and I'm just remembering what I said at the beginning of the clip. I say it so cavalierly that it was produced in 1921, and I'm just thinking, well, wait a minute, that's 100 years ago this year. So, but the magnitude of her impact is partially in the numbers, and the only reason, in Hollywood, if you don't succeed, they don't ask you back. But she directed 141 films. She wrote 121 films. She had 108 film acting credits and personally produced over 20 films. She passed away in 1939 and only recently has received the recognition that she deserves. But I tell you, go to YouTube and you can find more Lois Weber films, and I think you'll enjoy them. Our next pioneer in cinema, which actually tomorrow you'll be able to go to ParkPixFlix and get background information as well as clips and links to some of her work, is slightly different because she was an animator, and an animator with techniques that were so revolutionary in terms of how she did her animation. But it was a certain style of most of her animation that she became so well known around the world for. This is Lottie Reiniger. And what you see in those photos that I've just put up there is she had this silhouette technique of animation, and that she is most known for and is the foremost pioneer of. She was born in Berlin in 1899. Her best known film is The Adventures of Prince Ahmed from 1926, thought to be one of the oldest surviving feature-length animated films. And we have a little clip of it after I mention a few notes about Lottie. As a teenager, she developed a great love of cinema with the films of Georges Méliès, and she loved special effects. So she combined all the talents that she had, and she came up with this system of animation known as a form of, they call it multi-plane camera. And in fact, you can see it on the right-hand side of the screen, that they put the camera on top looking down, and they had different types of animation going on different levels. But when you shot it, it would look like it was all in one. And this, for those who know the names, at least one name, Ub Iwerks, I guess his name is, a famous animator of the silent era, and then on to Max Fleischer, who did Gulliver's Travels and Popeye and Superman and many others. But she preceded these folks because all these folks used this multiplane, and Walt Disney. She preceded them all by a decade. And she made more than 40 feature films, all using her invention. But she was, as a child, she was fascinated with the Chinese art of paper cutting into silhouette puppetry. And she started with just a part paper puppet theater to put on for her family and friends and so forth. But then it stayed with her, and she became interested in how to take this to film. And this is what I'll show you this clip. It's a quick, I think it's 2 minutes, and of her best known film, which is The Adventures of Prince Ahmed. And again, 1926. So let's bring up Prince Ahmed. fascinating technique. And again, remembering this is 1926, and if you ask any animator, they all know Lottie because they owe a lot to her, not only in terms of the actual methodology that she devised, but also, of course, the style that she did. And the color, I believe on this one, the color was all hand painted frame by frame. It was shot in black and white, but they would paint the frames. So quite a pioneer. And she worked up until she died in 1981, and she was releasing a film up until 1980. So really quite an amazing person, and what she contributed to animation art to be used all over the world. Our next pioneer, 3 out of 4, is Dorothy Arzner. And Dorothy, as I was saying in the beginning, was kind of 1930s. She really became well known. And she was born in San Francisco in 1897. She broke into the film industry through the bottom floor, working for everything: costume department, dressing sets, and she ended up in editing. Now, editing is interesting because actually that's a part of the film industry that was accepting women. There were a lot of editors that were women in the early days of film, but eventually she moved to feature directing. She began making silent films in 1927, and then she moved over to talkies. Her first talkie film was, well, there it is in the lower left, Clara Bow and Frederick March in his first film. She directed him, called The Wild Party. Excuse me. And she was also quite known, from 1929 to about 1932 was known as the pre-code, where the Hollywood was working without a code. So things got a little spicier, a little saucier. And she was known for taking part in those types of films. But she's really known for regularly tackling themes of female relationships, female independence, female performance, female social mobility. And she was the first, and for a very long time, the only woman admitted to the Screen Directors Guild. And she was recognized finally in 1986 with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But to get a sense of the type of film that she made, and a lot of them are a woman's point of view, and a lot of stars at that time wanted Dorothy to make a film because they knew they could handle a woman's story better than a man could in many times. This is one that she made, probably one of her best known ones. It's a film called Christopher Strong. It was made in 1933, and it stars Katharine Hepburn. And we're just going to look at the trailer that was made at that time to promote the film. And here it is, Christopher Strong.
Lucky for me, you're not the sort of girl that likes to make a man play the fool.
Perhaps I played the fool myself in choosing to live such a lonely life. Do you love me, Chris?
Call it it, love, if you like.
'Cause it's all wrong, but I'm glad. I'm off to New York.
Give up this dangerous
Oh,
fight.
no, certainly not.
Then in heaven's name, let me follow you.
Scandal isn't your dish, Chris. You made that very plain to me.
Right, let me get out of that one. And how about that costume that Katharine Hepburn was wearing? Quite something. But I think you can tell that type of, she did a lot of films in that same kind of style, and definitely a woman's point of view. And she was very good friends with Katharine Hepburn, and I think she did at least one other film with her. So that takes you to the 30s and 40s. And then our last pioneer is someone you probably, for a long time, I never knew that she was a director, but I had certainly seen her films because I was a Humphrey Bogart fan, and I saw High Sierra and things, and a few other films that she was in as an actress, as an actor. But I had no idea that she was a director, and a very, very well-respected director. And this is Ida Lupino. Ida Lupino was making films from the 30s into the 40s, and she was born in London, 1918. Highly accomplished actress. I mean, she had starred in, as I mentioned, High Sierra, The Sea Wolf, Anything Goes. But as she said in many interviews, she said, good roles for women were few. So in 1949, she took her talent to directing as well. She was good at it. She was producing at the time. She had a production company with her husband, and they were producing films. And the director of a film called Not Wanted had a heart attack. So her husband and herself, she said, I'll do it. I'll take over. So she stepped in as director, and she never looked back. She was very adept at that time of, this was 1949, of film noir. She received great reviews for film Never Fear and her film Outrage, The Hitchhiker, many more. She also got involved in television as it emerged in the 50s as a new dramatic medium, even though she did definitely drama with GE Theater, and she did Alfred Hitchcock episodes. She did The Ghost of Miss Muir in the 60s. She did Bewitched in the 60s. She did Gilligan's Island episodes. And she also did Twilight Zone. And she did one of the most heralded episodes ever, which was called The Masks. If you remember, a guy holds a party and he asks everyone to wear the masks that he has set for them. And I'll leave it at that, but I think you're probably very memorable, and the visuals of these masks that were made for the parties, the guests at the party, is quite an amazing episode of Twilight Zone. Now, Ida was, after Dorothy, she was the second woman to be admitted to the Screen Directors Guild. She won the Best Acting from the National Board of Review for Moontime, High Sierra, Ladies in Retirement, those films. Sadly, she was never recognized by the Academy or by television Emmys for any of her directorial contributions, and she made so many of them. Some of her films recently have been restored, some of the ones I was just talking about, and here's a trailer for these restored films of Ida Lupino. They were restored about 3 years ago. So let's take a look at that, and you'll get a taste. And these are all films that she directed.
Do you mind if I sit here? Well, there's not much I can do about it. You're here.
I guess I always have to keep on the go. Someday I'll get someplace. And keep driving.
They're all alike, honey. Never call when you want them to.
I guess all men are no good.
Oh, I don't know. I think there are one or two nice ones left in circulation.
Nobody ever gave me anything. Got what I wanted my own way.
I don't need anybody. I can take care of myself.
At the top of the news tonight is the report that the hitchhike murderer, Emmett Myers, is still at large. Yesterday, the devil thumbed another ride, and William Johnson of Portland asked him to hop in. Now, William Johnson is dead.
You guys are gonna die, that's all. Just a question of when.
How could a man like you, successful, admired, get into a position as vile as this?
Loneliness, I guess.
If this is a sample of your work, you're not very good at pickups.
You will call, won't you, Steve?
We were two people who knew what we were doing, remember? I never gave you any phony ideas about getting married and growing old together. That's something you got into your head.
He's the kind that thinks you ought to be married to have children. What would you do if you were me?
I've hurt you, Sally. I'm sorry, but I've never lied to you. Now get that straight.
And the soon is now. And I can happily tell you that if you're a subscriber to Amazon Prime, all three of those films are available on Amazon Prime. So I highly recommend you take a peek at them. And also, I believe the Twilight Zone episodes for the whole series of Twilight Zone are on Netflix. So if you subscribe to Netflix, look for The Mask or search for The Mask and The Masks, plural, because I think you will enjoy it. So no question, all these women are incredible trailblazers. That's why every week we felt this is a perfect time. And again, thanks to Peggy Ueda, who put this all together. So and each one, even though we're debuting tomorrow, Lottie, March 12th, Lois Weber will remain there, and then we'll debut a week from tomorrow, Dorothy and Arsner, and then Ida Lupino on March 26th. So it's a full month of it, and there's the links that Peggy has put together are not only for the video, but they're for biographies and stories about these incredible women. So I invite you to go to ParkPixFlix and tomorrow for Lottie Reiniger, and for the rest. And again, I for any of the names of these women, I recommend that you search these names on YouTube, Amazon, Netflix. I mean, a lot of the stuff, as you probably know, are on Turner Classic Movies as well. So please do that and stay with us for the whole month for Women Pioneers in Cinema. And as we're getting now towards the end of our program, I just want to remind everyone that on March 25th, 2 weeks from now, we will have Emily, the executive AHO from the Newfoundland Pony Conservancy Center, will be with us with ponies. And so it should be a fun live interview with virtual interviews zoomed in remotely with Emily and all the gang over at Newfoundland Pony Conservancy Center. So be with us on the 25th. Again, remind you, high noon on next Wednesday. We're going to have a lot of fun with St. Patrick's Day right here on Park TV. And at this time, as I normally do, if you would have any questions for us about anything that we do on Monadnock Tonight or anything for that matter at the Park Theater, you can always reach us at Park TV at theparktheater.org, or call us at our office, 532-9300. If you or an organization would like to sponsor this program, it's affordable, and we'd love to have you on as a sponsor, as Bell Tates has been in the past. And beyond that, I will just say, as we always do at the end of our shows, and we're coming up to our 1-year anniversary of Monadnock Tonight, will be in 2 weeks. And but as we've said from the beginning, and as we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, be safe out there, be healthy, always be kind to everyone, and be hopeful, because we're going to get through this, and we're also going to have a theater open for you. So all the best. We can do this, and we look forward to seeing you. Let's say just first, we'll see you next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day. This is Steve Jackson. Thank you to everyone, and again, thank you to Peggy Ueda for our wonderful series of women pioneers in cinema.